My father was like that. Felix taught me that we sell ourselves, but we're not for sale. And he was very big on this idea that he wanted to be able to look himself in the eye and feel good about who he was, what he did, the way he treated people. His karma, if you will, right?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Books Closed. I am Andrew Stortz. And before we start, I want to ask to make sure that you are subscribed, that you're hitting like, thumbs up, all of that goofy stuff that I hate to even bring up. But it helps new people find the show, and it also helps to ensure that you don't miss future episodes yourself. And that is particularly important today because this is part one of 2 episodes with the one and only Philip Leu. This is a dream guest of mine. Philip has been on my top of my list of guests to get on the show since I started. I never thought it would happen. I made a video that I'll link to in the show notes, and it's also, you'll be able to click above my head here right now to go watch. It's a 10-minute mini documentary of sorts about the way that this whole thing came to be. So check that out. It's a good time. There's some cool behind-the-scenes footage from my trip. I need to also give a huge thanks to Philip, Titan, Loretta. They opened their home to me, their studio. They were very generous with their time and with sharing stories about their family, their work, their art. And it was quite an experience that I will never forget. And I just want to thank them a lot for just being them. Thanks are also in order for this episode's sponsors: Tattoo Dream, DOS M, Black Dagger Books, and Tattoo Nectar. All of those fantastic people made this possible. I don't usually fly to Switzerland to make one episode of the podcast, or I guess 2 episodes in this case. So having these extra sponsors on board for this project, it made it possible. So I'll tell you more about them in a little bit. So let me now transport you north of Geneva, up a mountain, into a small village, to the studio of Philip Leu. Shall we?
Let's. Ein, zwei.
Okay. I came on a little journey, and I'm here in Switzerland with the one, the only, Philip Leu. Welcome. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, man.
Welcome to your own studio.
Yeah, I'm glad you came.
Yeah, this has been really awesome. I appreciate you having me out here. You are someone that I thought I would never get on the show.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why, but I didn't realize that you were so tuned into the internet. So you actually were aware of the show, and that kind of facilitated the whole thing, which is very cool.
Yes, I like what you do.
Thanks.
I do.
That's enough about me. So, this is a pretty amazing place.
Thank you.
Up in the mountains.
Middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
A small village, like 700 people here.
Yeah.
As I mentioned yesterday, we've been here since April. The funny thing was, a week before I finally opened up, some dude set up shop across town. We got 1 cafe, 1 mini mart, 2 studios.
That's crazy, but it is indicative of maybe where tattooing is.
Absolutely.
You can drop a pin on the map and there's going to be competition.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in this country since 1980, and used to be like 4 tattooers in the whole country. Like I say, we're 2 in this little village. You go down the hill to Yverdon, the nearest mini city of 27,000, and I think there's half a dozen shops there. And then from there to Lausanne, which is another 50 kilometers, you'll find studios in almost every little village. Those are the ones that you can see, not counting the people doing this micro-tattooing at home with the new equipment, the pens, that is so easy. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
Tattooing made easy, right?
Yeah, some of us need it. It's nice to have the help of equipment at sometimes. So what is it about Switzerland? What has kept you here for so long? Is this just home?
My father was Swiss, so, subsequently, I wasn't born here, but I'm here, and I met Titin, my wife, here. Yeah, we kind of settled down the family, put roots in. Up until my 13th year, my family always moved, traveled constantly, almost a year and a half in each location. And so then this became home base, well, Lausanne did. Carried on traveling, but always came back. And now I've got put down roots. And I like this country. It's quiet, clean, efficient, safe, pretty.
It's very pretty.
Even though I don't go out much, I'm a homebody. I live in the country like I would live in a big city. I am a very indoorsy kind of person.
Well, the views are amazing out of every single window in this place. So you don't have to go out.
Yeah. Well, I try and force myself to do a bit. I'm getting to the age where I should walk and stuff like that.
Who needs it? So do you think that maybe traveling so much in your younger years, do you think that's why you like staying home so much?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't get bored, and I don't get... Cabin fever is something that'll only hit me after like 3 or 4 months of not going out, then I need to step outside. But yeah, I enjoy standing still and being able to concentrate on what I like to do without too many distractions, because, when I find myself on a beach, renting a motorcycle, swimming all day, I don't want to work, Yeah. I want to go out and have fun. So this is like the perfect setup for doing what I want to do. I've got a nice scene and I'm able to concentrate and do my art, my tattooing, my drawing, painting, stuff like that, a bit of music. I don't know, like I said, I don't get bored.
Yeah. It's been interesting being here for the past day or so. And in a lot of your idle moments, you're pulling out the iPad and you're just casually drawing the coolest dragons ever.
Yeah, I quit smoking last year. It's like calling a nervous tic. I'm happy when I'm doing something like that. I will be listening to movies or documentaries, more listening than watching, actually. I like to do things, keep myself occupied, like a nervous tic, I call it.
Not a bad tic to have to stay productive.
Artistic or autistic, take your pick.
I think there's often a lot of overlap.
Yeah, kind of. You got to be a little nuts to sit down and just doodle all day.
Definitely.
You can find fun in just about anything. I mean, I've worked on the house quite a bit over the years. This shop, this pub section has taken us 2.5 years to get together. The war in Ukraine didn't help, slowed everything down by about a year. We had a year extra on the build, but I'd get in here and help the guys whenever I could. I do enjoy not just tattooing, but creation, construction, sorting through shit, going to the big dump and digging through the bins. I mean, I don't know. There's always something to do.
Yeah. I think it's good to have a little diversity in what you put your efforts and emotions into. Because if it's all just one thing, it can get old, or you can just get a little stale with it.
Yeah. Talking about traveling, I mean, I still live a lot of my travels of my childhood in my head. The stuff I lived and saw, my parents, the life they gave us was fit for a film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was playing with monkeys in Kathmandu when I was 11. I had personal relationships with 3 troops of monkeys that knew me by sight. I used to shoot them with slingshots and they'd chase me. I've played with elephants. I've ridden on water buffaloes. I've done like crazy stuff and didn't go to school. And I had a lot of free time. Saw a lot. My father wanted us, Felix, he really wanted us to see a lot. From living on tiny islands in Greece to Goa, Kathmandu, Spain, Ibiza, the islands, the country of France, Scotland. A lot of stuff I still haven't seen, but don't really like taking planes anymore. I think I watched too much aircraft accident, seconds from disaster and all of that.
Yeah, that's enough to keep you at home a little more. Well, it sounds like you had pretty much an entire full life as a kid. So what's left?
Well, I chose not to have children very early on.
Mm-hmm.
So tattooing really became my thing. After 40 years, I still enjoy it. I'm lucky enough to be able to tattoo pretty much what I like. If I really don't want to do a project, I'm not forced to. I refer the person as somebody who would enjoy doing it. Don't do portraits anymore. The last portrait I did was on a long-term friend. His father died, so I did a portrait for him. But it's not my bag. It's not what I'm happy doing. So there are people who do a much better job than me. I'd rather send a person to them.
Yeah.
We can't specialize, or I've realized I don't want to specialize in everything anymore. I'm much more comfortable doing stuff I can draw, that I like, that I know. I never get tired of drawing dragons. You know, it's endless.
Yeah. And I think that's an upside to there being so many tattooers, is that there are plenty of people who would be happy to do all the things that you might not want to do.
And I think people should be mindful of what they want to get, and they should go and get somebody who's good at it, you know. And I've found myself in situations where people want to get tattooed by me, but want me to tattoo something I don't want to do it. It's ridiculous. Why would you go to somebody and try and go see a woodworker and try and get him to make you something out of marble? I mean, it's like, it doesn't make any sense, you know?
Yeah. Hey, I really love your work. I'd like this micro portrait on my finger.
Or they bring me photos of my friends' work that do different styles. I'm like, why don't you go see them?
Yeah.
You know, you found the artist you like, obviously. You're showing me his work. Mm-hmm. Go see the man, you know?
Right. Do you find that with such a long career that people bring you stuff, reference of your own work from maybe a lot of years ago that isn't quite where you're at now?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it's actually funny. I remember a guy recently comes in, he's like, I love your work. I'm like, thank you. You know, he's like, I've been waiting to get tattooed with you. I'm like, I appreciate it. He goes, I've been thinking and I want to get something. I'm sure you've never done this. I want to get a hanya on my back with a dragon. And so in that moment, I realized he's never looked at my work, because that's pretty much my main staple, you know. But he wants to get tattooed by me. So it's interesting to become... Bill Salmon said to me, he talked about becoming a brand name tattooer and what it implies, where people trust your name without even knowing your work. Mm-hmm. You know, and the pros and cons of that. The good side is people want to get work from you. The bad part would be maybe thinking they actually understand what you do. I'm very lucky in the sense that I tattoo a lot of tattooers, and always have from early on, and it's a privileged position to work on the initiated, to work on people who understand. You don't have to sell. You can actually play with ideas, and I like working with people on their projects. It's fun. It's like doing music with people. You take you down avenues you hadn't thought of before. So yeah, that's been very fortunate for me as a position. I realize the few times I found myself on a convention floor. I mean, I haven't tattooed much in conventions in a long time, but trying to sell a tattoo to somebody that doesn't know anything about it,
yeah,
it can be quite frustrating, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're coming for very different motivations.
Right.
I'm interested in the art, my art, the art I like. Majority of people are getting tattooed more for the action, the gesture, the meaning, not the design. This whole how the world has become, the tattoo scene, I should say, with all these tattoo shows and adding all this deep meaning to designs, it's not really true. You know, there's always been the people who got the memorial tattoo, mom, dad, or whatever, you know, the kids. But to think that every tattoo design has a deep meaning is not right.
Did that kind of start with the shows?
It's really pushed it.
Yeah.
It's pushed it, like everybody needs to have a tragedy tattoo or some shit like this. And it's not understanding that the motivation to get tattooed comes way before the design does. This feeling of wanting a tattoo. Most people get to get the bug. I want to get a tattoo. Then you look around to find something. And now, because of these shows, if people come with all these stories, I mean, I don't like working like that, you know. I get told 25, 30 things to go on a sleeve. I'm like, right, pick 3. You know, it's too much. It's too much. And it's too personal. how could I say? I had a guy the other day, a few months, last summer actually, come in and he's like, I like your work. I've come to find you. I'm great. He goes, I really want to get a sleeve. I'm like, what do you want? He goes, do me something that represents me. I just met the guy. And so it's going off on the wrong foot. I was joking with him. I'm like, what, impulsive, indecisive? How could I possibly know what represents you? We've just met. I don't have superpowers. I don't have X-ray fucking vision. I don't know you, right? I thought you knew me. I thought that's why you came to see me. Same like I don't like when people won't choose. It kind of doesn't scare me, but bothers me a little bit. I think it's the wrong attitude.
I think some people think that they're more open than they truly are. Do whatever you want, and then you say, this is what I want. And they're like, well, could it be more?
Yeah, I've run into that too.
Yeah.
But there's this other side of, I don't want to make a decision, you decide for me. So, okay, I've got a standard answer down for that. I've explained to people, if you won't choose, you're getting water. Shot policy, right? I like doing water, so that's it. You'll get water. No, it's this thing of, I'm not good enough to make a decision. You have to decide for me. It's like not even choosing your wife. I think you're going to be married, right? You might as well put some effort into it and see if you like the person. I don't expect them to make the design for me or tell me every detail, but something aggressive, something gentle, black and white, color. I'd like figurative, I'd like abstract, some directional commitment, a little bit of commitment.
Yeah.
Because if not, I think I see these examples. There was a French guy in recently. I'm doing big work on him. He had a guy come in the shop. He showed me the picture with a realistic sleeve, the regular movie stars, poster scenes, all this kind of, there's tons of them out there. He did the arm. It took 9 months to complete. I'd put it above average as far as work goes. Goes to see my customer who's a Japanese tattooer and says, can you cover this in Japanese work? I don't like it. Number one, he spent 9 months doing it, completed it. As soon as it was done, he wants to cover the whole thing. What's going on? Did he go and see a tattooer that had a reputation and let him choose? Then lived with it and decided he didn't like it? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's like, you don't like your haircut, fine, you can grow your hair out again, but you got a whole sleeve. It's quite a lot of effort goes into that. The ultimate example of that today would probably be blackout. Guys who have no tattoos who black out a sleeve, which says to me they really, really like being tattooed and they really, really don't want to choose any form of design. So they go all black. It's the ultimate, I guess, commitment without committing to anything, visually speaking, right?
That's an interesting way to look at it, yeah.
Well, it shows that the drive to be tattooed is huge.
Yeah.
Willing to black out a sleeve, not even cover anything. To me, blackout was a way of saving an arm that was unsavable.
Yeah, that was always last resort.
Last resort, right?
It just shifted.
And they're not just like, I'm not saying I'm against this at all. Just trying to think of the motivation behind it, because 40 years in this industry, doing this, dealing with people, I learned from my dad, Felix. He learned from Jock. Felix had a philosophy. He was very respectful of his customers. He tried to protect people from their bad ideas. He gave opposition when he thought they were making a mistake. If they couldn't get through him, they didn't get the tattoo. He'd make fun of a dumb idea. He would tell them why it's a mistake, He really had, his biggest fear, if you will, in tattooing was that somebody would come back later and say, you fucked up my life. I don't like what you've done to my body, right? And I got that from him. It's always been very big in me, very strong, this fear of making people unhappy with what I do. It's really, and I've refused a lot of stuff. I don't think, loads of anecdotes of this, of guys who, and it endlessly surprises me the way people function. A young Italian guy years back comes in, he wants to talk about this big demon he wants on his shoulder over there. I thought he's a metal guy, right? He goes, I want to take it. He's holding this beautiful, like, pin-up girl and ripping her head off, and there's going to be blood all over the place. And I'm kind of looking at him, I'm going, why?
This episode is sponsored by Black Dagger Books. Last week I told you all about how a subscription to Black Dagger Books will get you a new book every month featuring some of the hardest working tattooers in the game. These books are showcasing the paintings from these tattooers, which I personally love to see. Black Dagger Books is also always cooking up some special releases in addition to their monthly books. Last year, they made a book called Jesus, featuring over 60 tattoo artists and their wide-ranging interpretations of the iconic figure of Christ, all in a gorgeous limited edition hardbound release. And now, I'd like to announce that their next limited edition release, Memento Mori, is being printed as we speak, and it will be available soon. 90 artists and their depictions of the contemplation of death. You'll even find a painting by me in this one. All current subscribers will get a special discount code for Memento Mori when it's available, so you'd better sign up for your subscription in the meantime, so you'll get that special price on a very special book. Head on over to blackdaggerbooks.com today and make some space on your bookshelves. This episode is also sponsored by DOS-M. Most tattooers are not utilizing systems or automations in their business. You can only keep track of so much with just your email inbox. DOS-M can help you get started with a CRM. A CRM will store all client communication and information in one organized place. Here is a real-life example for you. A client of DOS-M took this advice and was able to send out an email blast in less than 15 minutes that led to $5,000 in deposits within the first day. And the email wasn't even about booking appointments. A CRM is just your starting point for systems and automation. From there, you can work on automated calendar schedulers, payment systems, supplies tracking, and much more. Let some of this great technology make your day-to-day easier and more efficient. Head over to digitaltattooers.com today to set up your free consultation, and because you're a Loyal Books Closed listener, mention this episode and you'll also get 50% off all DOS-M services with a $1,000 credit right off the bat. All you have to do is reach out before the end of 2023. This is an insane value to help you start doing more for your business, and it's all at digitaltattooers.com. Thank you to DOS-M for sponsoring this episode.
Pin-up girl and ripping her head off, and there's going to be blood all over the place. And I'm kind of looking at him, I'm going, why? And I'm like, right, okay, you're at a bar, right? You're sitting there, you're having a drink, you see this beautiful girl down there, and she sees you, you smile at her, she looks at you, she likes you, she looks at your shoulder, she's off. He goes, oh yeah, I never thought of that. He goes, okay, he goes, right, forget that. He goes, no, I want the demon, right? And I want it to got the Pope by the neck, and he's ripping the Pope's head off, and there's blood all over the place. I'm like, okay, you're on the beach, right? You're having a swim, there's this family over there, they're very religious, they're going to look at you, going to see the Pope with their head, you're in trouble. He goes, oh yeah, I never thought of that. He goes, all right, I want this demon on my shoulder, right? We go down this list. And he ended up getting some heavy metal demon, but I was trying to why? What are you doing,
It's kind of low-hanging fruit maybe to think like, I want something gruesome, I want something gnarly. And so it's like easy to say, I want something being ripped apart and blood squirting out.
Yeah, I know, but it's a thing for life. So I feel like it's the same way I don't do facial tattoos, or I won't do hands on people that don't have a lot of work, and
yeah.
I don't like doing necks. So we put an age limit of 21 in the shop. It could be 18. I'd rather 21. People start to settle a little bit. There's too much in his visual tattooing right off the bat. It says a man with a bodysuit, right?
Yeah.
I just got my hands just in April from Chris Carver. It took me 40 years of tattooing to start creeping out to like, this one, I wear a beard, you don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a clean neck, and I like that about the Japanese suits, that you wouldn't know unless they want you to know.
Yeah.
I find that very, very cool, very powerful kind of.
It's more reserved. It's more refined.
Refined is a good word, yeah. They choose when to go out their nappies and do the fucking run down the street carrying the temple and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it typical the time for Felix to be so conscious of people's decision making?
No. Felix, came from an artistic background, tried all kinds of different art forms throughout his life. But he had a philosophy also of a more gentle approach, I think, than tattooers at the time. Yeah, no, Felix's approach was very welcome to our home, incense, cup of tea, sit down. So very, not the rough, tough, what do you want? You got 5 minutes to choose or get the fuck out, sit down, shut the fuck up, no jawbone,
Mm-hmm.
None of that. Custom designs from the beginning. He would design, I remember in the early years in India, once this woman wanted a small tree on a cliff. He painted 42 versions for the woman before she chose one. He enjoyed the process. He enjoyed the interaction. He did a lot of concept tattooing that still you don't see a lot of today, where he would go needle to skin, the whole arm, not a single line drawn with a pen. Stuff I still don't do. He enjoyed the challenge. He enjoyed the moment. It was almost performance art sometimes with him, where he was really he was very different to the regular. He learned from Jock in King's Cross, an old English or Scottish tattooer in London. And that was like iron cage. You got buzzed in, and he was a big fat guy that worked over a counter. He never came out from behind his counter. You'd have to lean up against the counter to get your tattoo, back piece, chest piece. It didn't matter. There was no comfort for the customer whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Where my entry to tattooing was all about service and the experience to make it a good ride. I learned a lot from Bill Salmon. He was exactly like my dad. Bill was a collector before he was a tattooer. And Bill really, really believed in the experience. It was a total package deal. It's not just about the work. It's about the memory that goes with it and the moment spent. And it was fun. He made it fun. Bill was really fun. And he was loved for it because, let's face it, not everybody that gets tattoos understands art. It's not their field. I've seen people choose designs. You got 6 little birdies and they choose birdie number 5 because it's got more colors than the rest. Not understanding you can put all those colors in any one of the birdies, They function on different levels, and I have to be reminded of that often when I work on people that aren't in the industry and that are not artists, that, they don't see what we're looking at. You wonder what people respond to actually in tattooing. Where tattooing has gone today, the art has gone off the charts. Never imagined the quality of art that's being done on a daily basis. I'm thinking about the Frankfurt Convention. Hundreds of tattooers doing this shit. Not all of them are good tattoos. Great paintings on skin, oil painting on skin. Longevity, technique, questionable. So tattooing is going through a very interesting phase. A lot of basic rules have been forgotten since apprenticeships are not as common. A lot of people are self-taught or learning quickly in these school setups, but they will learn. Horiyoshi was quite adamant. He told me once that you can only judge a tattooer after seeing his work in the skin for 6 years. That's the test of a real artist, tattoo artist. If the lines are solid after 6 years and the shading is not broken up and the color hasn't fallen out, that dude knows how to do tattooing. Before that, it's anybody's guess. And I think I've seen a few pieces since I've been judging the last decade now, doing the Paris show regularly, Used to do London, doing the Frankfurt one, and I get to see the same pieces coming back and aging. And some of them not so good. Quicker. Which is, neither, there people can get it reworked, or maybe that kind of work needs to be revamped every 5 years. Like you repaint your house every 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it's going to be. I'm not closing the door on the future evolution of where this profession goes. There are a lot of things that were learned over the years that were there for a reason. All these slogans you hear that I don't know if people listen to anymore about, like bold will hold. There was a reason people did it, If you make it to 80, do you want your tattoo to be all black or readable? I mean, then again, tattoos aren't permanent anymore. People laser this shit off as quick as they get it.
Yeah, the whole idea of permanence isn't what it used to be with tattoos.
Nope. Really not. And if we were joking about the bod mod world, I mean, tattooing's the little, what's the word in English? The little goody two-shoes of the family, isn't it? I mean, on the other end, they're cutting off noses and fingers,
Yeah.
We're not that shocking anymore.
That's true. Yeah, it makes tattooing seem pretty vanilla.
Vanilla, yeah. It's the soft end of the stick.
This is like step one for a lot of people.
Yeah. How it's gone visible rather than under wraps is something that I still have to wrap my head around. I see 23-year-olds with full facials, and it kind of hits me, in the gut. And my first thought is, man, I hope we can live well with this, because. And I wonder about the morality of a lot of these artists who are doing it. Same I mentioned earlier, we were at breakfast, we were talking about Tattooverse for a show, where there were horrendous tattoos being put on people for 15 minutes of television time.
This episode is sponsored by Tattoo Nectar, an all-natural skin cream infused with CBD for use on healing and healed tattoos. Tattoo Nectar is a small business based in the great state of Michigan. Founded in 2021 when tattooers Julian Bast and Danny Garbiras teamed up with the hemp power couple Drew and Caitlin Connor. The Connors had made a healing salve for their family and community for years that helped with an array of skin conditions. When Bast, who I'd like to add is one of my favorite tattooers of all time, I digress. When Bast used their salve to heal a tattoo, he was blown away at how it helped that healing process and instantly thought about the benefits that it could offer to his clients. Long story short, they all teamed up, worked to fine-tune the recipe to really make this the perfect product for tattoos. These are high-quality ingredients packed with 5 times the CBD of other brands and lab-tested to ensure your safety during use. There were no corners cut here, and you can read all about the specifics at tattoonectar.com. And while you're there, use the discount code BOOKSCLOSED, that's all one word, BOOKSCLOSED for 20% off your order. For shops or anyone interested in wholesale inquiries or any other questions, use the contact form on their website. This is a thoughtfully crafted product made with love and care by the people who know. So do yourself a favor and do your clients a favor and get some Tattoo Nectar today. TattooNectar.com, and that's discount code BOOKSCLOSED for 20% off your order. And our final sponsor is Tattoo Dream. Have you ever wished you could bring all of your reference and sketchbooks with you wherever you went? The tools from Tattoo Dream allow you to do just that with their Procreate stamp brushes, digital flash, and downloadable books. Don't worry if your walls are already full or if your bag's a little too heavy. Let your iPad do the heavy lifting and load it up with all the reference a tattooer could ever need. You will have access to unlimited design elements whether you're at the shop, at home, or on the road. Everything on TattooDream.com is designed by a collective of the world's leading tattooers, including Paul Dobelman, Danny Derrick, Valerie Vargas, Austin Maples, Tony Nilsson, and many, many more. Tattoo Dream also has streamable seminars. They cover the topics of drawing, painting, and photography, so you can continue to expand your knowledge base. Once you've enrolled in a course, you can take your time at your own pace on your own schedule. Head over to TattooDream.com today to see for yourself. And I'm having some tattoo dreams of my own right now.
Sam, I mentioned earlier, we were at breakfast, we were talking about Tattooverse for a show, where there were horrendous tattoos being put on people for 15 minutes of television time. I don't know if I think that I wouldn't do that as a tattoo artist. I wouldn't feel okay tattooing horrible stuff on people so they can get the big reveal on television and cry and flip out about it. I don't see it's not my view of what I do. I don't like that.
Yeah, the goal isn't for somebody to look in the mirror and go, "Oh my God, what did I do?"
Yeah.
That's the worst feeling.
Yeah, it's not. It's maybe one of the most extremes, but it's just become so big, so widespread. I mean, tattooing's been here since, caveman times. And it's gone in and out of popularity. It's gone in and out of the public eye. It's died, it's come back, it's died, but it's never gone away. It'll never go away. The reason behind it is deeper than fashion. It's really so hard to pinpoint. I still don't understand it fully.
That's what's great about it.
And I do a lot of bodysuits and stuff. People really commit. It's not just getting a little tattoo. They commit to serious endeavor. You're asking if Felix's approach was typical of tattooing at the time. It wasn't. There was a whole wave of tattooing at the time. Hardy was very influential. Tattoo time was a real eye-opener. But yeah, I would say Felix, even though he was in that group, he brought a different aspect to tattooing, pop art, more craziness, away from the standard eagle number 12, skull number 2. No, it wasn't like that. So it was more the tattoo artist versus the tattooer.
Was there ever a time, since you came up with that sensibility, was there a time where you kind of had a little curiosity of the rough, tough tattoo shop scene?
Yeah, I guess my closest, I could say, was my year in New York in 1990 with Jonathan Shaw. Even though we were underground, because it was still illegal in the city at the time. And we'd start at night and finish at 5, 6 in the morning. But it was, people would walk in and I had 5 minutes to figure out what they wanted before Jonathan was like, time is money, let's get this moving, He gave me the possibility, permission to wail on people, to be more off the cuff, to be more spontaneous than I was when I worked with Felix. He was more about prepping and presenting people with a design. And like Bill would do a consultation without obligation, followed up by a fitting. You'd come in for a fitting, see the artwork, it would be presented, put on the body, checked out in the mirror, a few modifications, then people would come back for the tattoo. Mm-hmm. Jonathan had 5 minutes to figure it out, draw it on and get to work.
He wasn't doing 40 sketch designs.
No, it was right away. So I really got to develop this faster style, it was very enjoyable. It was like suddenly I was, like a kid let loose in a candy shop. I was allowed to experiment and be rougher than I was at home and learn new skills, if you will.
Yeah, it's always important to see how other people do things, see the other side of it.
Yeah, a lot faster. I suddenly realized how quick things could be done.
Yeah, was that a turning point for your focus on efficiency?
Yeah, the thing about being efficient really stems from my first tattoos, age 11 and up, to when 15, 16, I started getting a lot of work on my sleeves, like everywhere. Those fucking things tickled. I literally remember laughing because I couldn't process the feeling. It tickled, it didn't hurt. Later on, as I started getting more extensive work, I went to hell and back. I really suffered. Hardy's was a shock, and I started getting some serious work. So as soon as I started hitting the pain, it became really important for me to pain management. And I think I've always had that, like, to be efficient, to be conscious about pain. Yeah, I learned in New York, and then in San Francisco was the first time I did a sleeve in one go, for example. It took me 8 or 12 hours or some ridiculous number like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten quicker and quicker because I've learned tricks, I've learned design. Speed is a lot, not just technique, but it's design. The right design goes quick. The wrong design takes a long time. So learning the right design, it can do an arm now in 4 hours, 5 hours in black and white, one sit. So then I learned tricks. Like once you're done with the line work, which I usually start at the wrist and end at the shoulder, if you want to get it shaded in one go, you start with the elbow, the worst. Then you move down, the back of the inner arm down to the wrist, and you get the wrist down, and you go from the worst to the easiest. Pain management.
Mm-hmm.
But the last session is on the outside of the arm, going up, and people are on an endorphin high just for starters, but they also know that they're on an easy zone now. Even if they're not, they've just had all the line work, they know. You get all this shit, because if you do all the easy stuff first and you want to end with the elbow, they're going to walk on you, they're not going to do it. So yeah, pain management, I think, came from being tattooed myself. I'm full, I've just got my armpits left. And then my body's done, and it's taken a long bloody time, and I got almost 60 people on my body, and I've tried different kinds of hands and approaches. I don't like dry wipers. I don't like people who squeeze too hard. I don't like, I've learned what I don't like by being on the receiving end of it and try to remember that when I work on someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it goes a long way if you're careful. Some people, you watch in conventions, I've seen tattooists that don't have any tattoos. And then you watch the way they treat the skin and it shows. They're being excessive. You're wiping like insanely with no water, no grease, like fucking pounding away at it. And the guy's winching away, and you think if he had a bunch of tattoos, he wouldn't be doing that.
Right.
About knowing what you're doing, understanding your profession. I think it's good that if somebody's going to do butt crack tattoos, he should have his butt crack tattooed.
It's only fair.
And it's very instrumental into showing you what you're doing to people and explaining to you, Knowing that I did it myself, so I know it can be done, number one, because I've been through it. Honestly, I didn't find my butt as that bad. People flip out on the ass, and I found it much easier than the bony parts. I really did, there's far worse areas to get tattooed.
Well, I always think it's interesting how differently people can take certain spots.
There's a sociological, what's the word for it, more, ass is taboo, especially when you're doing a dude's butt.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to get through that barrier first. A man's touching my ass.
Yeah.
Not everybody's like that, but a lot of people are. So that's interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost more traumatic than the tattooing itself.
Well, your clients, they're like, Philip Leu's touching my ass.
And I go right up there too, I do that. I like when the body's standing straight, you don't see any empty skin if possible. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, you got to get in there.
Japanese style, you do it. You even do the nice scalloped endings on it. Stuff only his doctor and his wife are ever going to see. I know that. I put a lot of energy into parts that are very personal.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's the way I had mine done, and I think it looks right.
Well, if you're going to do it, then why cut corners?
Well, I've had some requests. Don't go near my crack. Fine. So then you design something with negative space, right? Yeah,
it's got to be interesting working at the large scale that you do for so long and seeing all the variation in requests and the variation in results and letting that inform how you go forward, and just to see the progression of your work and knowing that efficiency has influenced the design in a lot of cases.
Some people specifically request the long road, don't want it to go quick, want a lot of detail, then I'll do that. Yeah. I used to be more of a coach. You can do it. Come on, just another half an hour. Hang in there, yeah. I quit that. That I stopped. Don't see the point. If somebody starts acting up, we're done for the day. I don't see the point. Now tattooing's gone full circle. You were mentioning it to me earlier. People who put you to sleep to do your back in LA. Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
why not, right?
Yeah.
Kind of maybe a little more dangerous territory.
Yeah, I think so.
You could not wake up from a total narcosis, a total anesthesia.
And they're having 5 or 6 tattooers on him at once to get a full back done in a session.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little guilty of having promoted this thing back in the 2000s of tandem tattooing on Tattoo the Earth. We were like, I remember in Oakland, we were 6 tattooers on 3 guys, and we were rotating and swapping them, you know, as these performances. Or in Boston, I did it back with Tintin on a guy. We did 2 guys, me, Guy Atchison, Paul Booth, and Jack Rudy, tattooed 2 guys, 2 skulls, and we kept swapping back and forth. So I did promote this. We did Anil Gupta's thigh, the 4 of us, in public as a performance art. Now you see a lot of this going on. Sometimes insane amounts of work. I mean, like I mentioned, I've been judging now for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen guys drag their legs on stage. They look like swollen coconut trees, you know. It's one massive tube of lymph and oozing and leaving a snail trail behind them on the stage as they come over to show you this thing. It's so hard. I mean, holy shit, you know. Taiwan was exceptional. There was guys, one guy did 52 hours over 3, something like that.
Jesus.
3 people on him for 3 days or something like that. A complete back piece from Nectar to back of the knees.
Wow.
Insane things are being pulled off.
Mm-hmm.
Spectacular. I've done it with quite a few people over the years, this sharing work. I started with my dad in the 80s. I remember sharing a customer, we each working on an arm each at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Or we all, my mom, Loretta, Felix and me doing a guy's back while he pulled the lines. I did shading, my mom did color. This idea of sharing a tattoo is not new.
Right.
Paul Rogers told me when he was a younger man and a ship would come into port, I think, San Diego, no, the other side, Carolina somewhere, where they'd line them up on the bench. One dude would pull the lines, then they'd sit on the bench. The next guy would be doing the black shading, and then he'd sit on the bench. And then the guy would color, you know.
Sounds kind of nice.
Yeah, they were a production line, like literally
Yeah.
like a factory line.
I'll take the shading.
Yeah. Yeah, if the line guy was too quick, there was a backlog, you know. It's like, Mr. fucking...
Come on.
Come on, you know, pick it up. So it's not new to me at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like from Paul Rogers, that was a matter of like business, getting it done.
Well, you didn't want them to go anywhere else, so you lined them up so they had to stay, right? To
Right.
get the lines on as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm. And then you took it to more of a performance art place.
Well, even before that, it was. I didn't do it in public. I've done it with. I tried to count the other day. I can't remember 15 or 18 different people that I've shared big tattoos with over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the beginning. It was more for a learning experience. The same reason as the art fusion. Actually, designing a back and tattooing it with somebody, I got to pick their brains and really, really see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Beats now, my partner, Sailor Beat, we've done like 9 or 10 people now. Some big ones, you know, neck to ankle. And with him, I've done so much of his tandem tattooing that it's become almost easy. Almost.
Mm-hmm.
We know each other that well. It's like playing music. It really is.
Yeah.
Every time he stretches, he's aware that I'm on the other side and he doesn't yank on it. Like, it can be terribly difficult working with another person if they're not mindful of you.
It's a dance.
Yeah, because if they stretch or they let go stretching and you're in the middle of a line, it's the worst possible thing, right?
Yeah.
And so we've become so in tune, it's become almost like a regular band now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's probably rare for people to strike a rhythm like that with somebody else because it's obviously not the most common thing.
No, and we used to talk a lot in the beginning. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And we don't even talk anymore.
Yeah, you just know.
Yeah, we were commenting the last session on this guy that we don't have to talk. It's good. So I still do it for interest. It's still easy to work on your own, of course. The nice side is to see the progress so quick. But yeah, I haven't got bored of this yet. I really haven't. It's been a long time. I don't know what else. Sometimes I wish I could live 300 years so I could try 3 different professions. Because it takes a while just to get into something. They talk about 10,000 hours to become an expert.
Doesn't seem like even scratching the surface with tattooing.
Yeah, that was 5 years of a full-time job, right? It took me more than 5 years to find my feet proper. More like 10. Yeah, to really start to relax a bit into it. And because we don't talk enough about what it does to us. The same way doctors, people complain about doctors not being human enough. Give a bit of credit. These guys need to protect themselves,
Yeah.
They work in a field where most people are in distress or maybe even dying, right? No, but what tattooing does to us, to inflict pain on somebody for 40 years, to work in a magnetic field for 40 years, to interact, to interlock, to get to know, even if people don't scream and cry at the top of their lungs, when you're hurting them. You can feel it. It takes a lot out of us, and it's slightly damaging sometimes. It's another reason I'm at the top of a mountain in a small village. The people that end up getting tattooed by me are very persistent and really want it. Because the most damaging part of tattooing to me over the years has not been the pain I inflict on people, it's the pain they inflict on me. The psycho nut jobs you can meet. The ones that want more than just a tattoo out of you and start fucking with your head. And
yeah, they'll take it all out of you.
Oh man, the needy ones, if you will. Glad I don't have a lot of those anymore. It's been years since I had somebody I wanted to strangle or stab with the machine. I've had a few doozies over the year.
Yeah.
And my stubbornness, my work ethic makes me finish the work. I threw away one big suit. And I set him up with a friend to finish the work. I gave all the prep work. I just had to ask my friend to take over because I was going to kill him.
How could you do that to a friend, though?
No, I warned him, so he kept the guy on a short leash, and it worked out because
he
didn't give him I gave him too much room, and it got out of control, and I couldn't control it anymore, and it became this mindfuck game that I'm just not interested in.
Yeah.
Some people are just too much.
People's expectations can be unrealistic.
No, he was fucking with my head at the end of it. It was like it started me wanting to hurt him. It was no good.
Yeah. And when you've dealt with so many different people and one person's making you feel that way, I think you can be pretty confident saying that they're just not the right person for you to have to deal with.
My fault. I gave them too much space, too much leeway. I lost control of the whole thing. And it started to become not about the work, about him winding me up.
Cool. Thanks, guy.
Whatever. I don't know why he did it.
It's peculiar.
Yeah, but when I gave him to my friend and I said, keep this dude on a short leash, he did, and he got all the work done. Okay, maybe me kicking him out scared him and woke him up.
Maybe. Sometimes people need that.
Yeah.
Like you ever meet someone you think, this person's never gotten beaten up. And if they got beaten up one time, it could change their life.
This maybe was one of those.
Yeah.
He was a rich kid used to getting everything he was used to getting as well.
Yeah. So we all know what that can look like.
Yeah, he was spoiled. But that was an exceptional, in
Right.
all the years I've done this, my stubbornness makes me finish my projects, even if they are difficult. I will not be beaten by somebody. I will, complete my contract.
Yeah. Well, you want to do the work too. That's why you're doing this.
So it's also about, stubbornness on my part.
If that's what it takes to get you through sometimes, then I guess it's all good, even if it's to your detriment at times.
Yeah, but if I were to say, the 100% of the stuff I've done and the work I've done, it's 0.01 that were bad. It's very, very small compared to the potential of bad experiences people can have in this profession.
Yeah.
I've been very, very fortunate. Also controlled my environment. Said no. I've learned to say no early on. Just refuse. I don't care. My father was like that, Felix, very, very strong. He told people no a lot. If he didn't feel that they knew what they were doing, he just said, come back another day. If they came back, well, maybe they had a chance. If they didn't, he felt he was right, It's when you look in the mirror who you want to be. Yeah. Felix taught me that we sell ourselves, but we're not for sale. And he was very big on this idea that he wanted to be able to look himself in the eye and feel good about who he was, what he did, the way he treated people. His karma, if you will, right? Keep his karma clean. This idea of, because people will push you to do the dumbest shit if you let them. Yeah, I want a dragon on my face. Yeah. Some guy popped in my mind, this was like 30 years back, he wanted this fucking dragon on his face and I wouldn't do it in Lausanne, and he got quite irate and we had to pretty much kick him out. And he came back the next day, he had this big bleeding rose on his forehead, ring the doorbell to our place, open it up, and he's fucking going, look, I got it.
Yeah, he showed you.
Like what? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm glad you did, but I don't have to fucking do it, I don't have to.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. How you can be of two minds. One is, I don't want that on my conscience. Yep. And then you can say, well, someone's going to do it, so it might as well be somebody who's capable like myself, if somebody feels that way. But I prefer your route because it just feels better. You sleep better at night knowing that you were straight shooter.
The year I worked at Hardy's Realistic Studio, 85 to 86, me and Bill went to tattoo a national convention in New Orleans, 86 I think it was. I'm in the booth, I'm setting up. Big burly biker type comes over to me. Hey boy, I'm like, yeah, he goes, I want KKK on my forearm. Big black letters. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Why not? So like a dumbass, I went, it's against my beliefs, right? Started a big fucking argument with the guy, and he got all uptight at me and started raising his voice, and I stood my ground, and he stomped off. There was this old black dude sweeping the floor, and he looked at me and he goes, you should have done it. And I went, what? He goes, yeah, mark him up. If he's stupid enough to wear it, do it on his forehead. Mark the motherfucker up. You should have done it. Which was a total... I hadn't thought of that.
Sure. Yeah.
You're right. I hadn't thought of that at all. Another one was actually a Boston show in Worcester, I think it was. Little guy comes around, wanted Adolf Hitler on his neck, portrait. I said no. He asked the guy next to me, he said no. And I saw the twit wander off into the mist, asking every fucking booth as he went. 2 days later, end of show, he walks by, comes to show me, he's got Adolf Hitler on his neck in color, all happy. I'm like, who did that? He told me. After party, I see the dude who did the tattoo. I went up, I'm like, you did the Hitler portrait? He's like, yeah. I'm like, why? He goes, that little motherfucker deserves every beating he's going to get because of that tattoo until he finally gets it covered up. Same idea, right?
Yeah.
Which I hadn't thought of that either. Okay, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And he's going to get it covered up. He was young, he was stupid. He wanted to make a big fucking, statement, and he's going to get stomped for it, for sure.
Sometimes it's better to know.
Color portrait of Hitler like this on your neck.
Yeah.
Good luck, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this idea about protecting people from themselves was part of the etiquette that I got taught. The biggest facial tattoo I've ever done was Paul Booth. And he hounded me for a while for that. He got my father to design it for him, and he really pushed the pot before I did it. Because I was reluctant. My mother wears these home signs down her forehead. I gave her a really hard time before I did it for her. She lives with it really well. It's not like tattoos on your face will ruin your life per se. Some of them I think are beautiful. It's how you live with it and whether you know what you're doing. Who regrets a tattoo? Somebody who did it for the wrong reasons or doesn't know his own mind, right? Does it because the girlfriend said to do it or the friend said to do it, or he can't think further than his nose. I mean, I like people that think a little bit about it. I really do. I got a collection which is, you'd call what? Old school sleeves. Just random stuff, right? I dislike the look. I get asked, guys who want to do a realistic forearm, Marquesian upper arm, Japanese forearm, black work over here, dot work over there. If you ask them, would you go out wearing a shirt that had a leather sleeve, a velvet sleeve, a vinyl side, a denim side, and a fishnet back? Would you wear that shirt?
Some people might.
Yeah, but most of them wouldn't.
Right.
But that's the way they'll tattoo themselves. They put more thought into their wardrobe than their bodysuit. And I'm not against mixing stuff, but why not do 2 Japanese sleeves with Marquesian mixed in and black work showing through on the bottom and like morph it all together? Just a little bit of energy and thought into how to combine all of this stuff. They're not getting these styles mixed because it's like they go to a buffet and they don't want to miss out. So they make sure they get a little bit of everything and just throw it all together. It's this weird way of approaching something for me, which is for me visual. Vision, right? As Claude would say, my vision. But it's true in the sense of I see this visually. I don't look at it in this meaning sense. What's it mean? I got the tattoo of Mr. Natural here from the Zap comic, where it's got the button that says "Don't mean shit," right? Because the disciple, Flaky Funt's going, Mr. Natural, what does it all mean?
Yeah.
And meaning is subjective. It's very subjective. You get a bodysuit of black and grey flowers and water and rocks, and you walk into the swimming pool, people are going to shit themselves the same as if you were covered in skulls because they don't even see it. They just see tattooed suit. But then they look at you and they see it's just flowers. I'm thinking of a specific guy I did. Every little old lady that's panicked when they've seen him, when they see what it is, they love it.
Right.
Oh my God, it's flowers and I know this kind and that kind, yeah? So imagery is, I keep saying secondary. It's an interesting question I ask people when they come and see me. Oh, I bought you this design, I want it tattooed. I'm like, did you find that design and decide you want it tattooed? Or did you decide you want a tattoo and spent the last 3 months looking for something to show me? And they're like, yeah, basically. I'm like, fine, then maybe I can help you. Let's look at, what we could design for you instead, right?
Yeah. I always find it frustrating when somebody brings in something, and I'm talking for like smaller, just one-shot kind of things. This is what I want. And then you try to guide them to something that's more unique to them or something that's going to work better for, ABC reasons. But they're so stuck on the thing that they just saw it. And I just want to say, well, I can show you this, and now you've just seen this. So, like, can you fall in love with that? It's like run into a brick wall sometimes. I
blame the shows. This idea that you need to have something that is relevant to you. So now, what are we fighting? We're not fighting that they think their design is better than yours. No, right. It's their choice.
It's a control thing.
Yeah, They've committed, they've found it. You now want to change what they have chosen, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of the fact that a dozen people could be wearing that design already, that doesn't factor in.
But sometimes that's what they want.
Yeah.
They like that about it.
It's like, fine too.
Yeah. I've always found that the illusion of allowing them to think that they are still in control is such an important part of the dynamic.
But ultimately they are in control in the sense of they can say no.
Yeah, of course.
The thing about having your work copied, I think it's a compliment. I've seen Chinese guys redo my backs that I've tattooed perfectly almost.
Mm-hmm.
I find it hilarious. When somebody copies what I've done, I've always thought, wow, they have so much choice out there and they chose to copy me. Holy shit, right? That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a compliment. Especially the Chinese, I found out that's the way they pay homage. If they admire somebody, they copy their work perfectly to show how much they appreciate you. It's not to steal, it's to pay homage, right?
Yeah. They're saying this is the best that can be done, so
Yeah.
why would I do any less?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people might get bent out of shape when somebody copies their work. You stole my idea, it's like this and this and this.
Is that ego, you think?
Yeah.
Because we put so much of ourselves into what we do that I can...
But there's nothing original under the sun. Anybody that's come up with something, it's a bunch of things he's seen and remembered and made into his own soup of copying something else. Like take dragons, back to a subject I like.
Mm-hmm.
I keep wondering who drew the first dragon,
Yeah.
I found a beautiful scroll that has 12 dragons on it. It was from the 1200s. Chinese guy. I think he influenced a lot of people because what he put down on that scroll, I have seen reproduced over and over by other guys throughout the years, right? I'm talking old, not modern. But who did he copy?
Yeah, someone did it first.
Yeah, does it go all the way back to the memory of a fucking dinosaur? What, right?
Right.
This idea of originality. I start to understand the quote, good artists copy, great artists steal. At first, I didn't really think I understood it. A good artist copies, and you'll see what he's copied. A great artist will copy something, but change it enough that nobody knows where it's from. He steals it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he twists it into his own creation. But he's still taking it from somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's life. I don't know, there's some groundbreakers. Was Picasso the first?
Yeah, it's always interesting to think about the true origins because most of it goes so much further back than we could even wrap our heads around.
Yeah. Hieronymus Bosch. Apparently this guy never traveled, lived in some little village in Germany. And yet, he had an insane vision of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did he get it?
I think maybe sometimes being so insulated can...
Madness?
Yeah, a little bit.
I haven't studied a lot of painters. One guy I have looked at in my life is Salvador Dali. I've been to see his museums and his home and seen a bunch of his works. And in some of his bigger paintings, there's every style conceivable. Everything. He did it all. From psychedelic to abstract to pointillism to cubism, everything. Really an amazing guy. The surrealistic stuff, the dripping watch, Mm-hmm. Was he truly the first? I mean, you see the drippy watch in Tex Avery cartoons, you see the drippy watch in popular culture around the world. The Dali watch, and everybody knows, but where was that idea from, right?
I think multiple people could have the same idea. I'm sure it's happened many times.
There's a guy called Joffre, Dutch painter. I can show you his work later. He had some work in there done in the 50s. It's biomech.
Wow.
Insane. I'll show you later. It's like, wow, it's like the same idea, yeah. So what's happening to tattooing today? Too much detail. I had to learn the hard way. I started out trying to reinvent the wheel. Little boy wonder over here, right? Single needle everything. My first back piece was single needle outline, colored in with a round 5.
Mm.
Extreme, shallow, Chicano style. Felix was a very good technician. He knew how to build machines. He taught himself, make needles. He was very good at the technicals because he was a jeweler earlier. He knew how to work metals, and he was mechanically minded. And so I learned the technical side. I was very technical when I learned. I had a really good technique, and I tried to reinvent tattooing and hyper detail. And I see these works now, the 30 plus years old. What a waste of time. You can be as careful as you want, as shallow as, it doesn't matter, the skin will not hold. It just won't. This is a living, breathing organism, and it goes when it gets older. And it's fuck all you can do about it except for anticipate it. Mm-hmm. Really anticipate where it's going to go. That's an important part of tattooing, and some of this micro tattooing is insane. Some of the stuff I've seen, the level of energy and detail and time, and white highlights upon white highlights with a little bit of white highlight on top of that. It's just holy snap and fucking wow. But
well, there's so much emphasis on like the photo.
Smaller than that, I saw this in Taiwan. I watched this Chinese girl doing these. She had like half a needle, not even a single needle. It's like she'd shaved it in half. She was working like 0.5 millimeter depth, doing shit you needed a gigantic eye loop to see. It was the size of a fucking quarter. And she was doing little cross hatchings in a light gray with this, and it was just insane. I was like, I went over to watch her. She'd worked all day on it. It's gone within 6 weeks, this kind of tattoo.
That's probably what some people like about it.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe, yeah. It's that whole crowd that want to take a bite out of tattooing but don't want to commit. So they get the smallest thing possible. Mm-hmm. Hopefully the most expensive thing on the market. It's a bit like a Rolex. Yeah, it might be small and it might be fade away, but boy, we paid a lot for it, so it's really good.
Right.
Yeah, and fine, let them. Not everybody should be fully tattooed.
Yeah. But has there always been an element to that? People who kind of dip their toe in?
Well, you take like what I was learning, who got the little tattoos, with the secretaries, the housewives, the little butterflies, the little roses, the dolphins. Mm-hmm. It's always been and always will be. They didn't get into the big work. A movie would come out with a fish in it and they'd all get a fish. A movie would come out with a dove and they'd all get a dove. I don't know. There was more an element of bad girl than there is today, right?
Yeah, it takes a lot more today to be bad.
Yeah, it was really a naughty thing to get a tattoo when I started. Mm-hmm. Titi, having her sleeves early on in Lausanne, she got a lot of shit in the streets.
Yeah.
People that would like literally shake their heads and mutter about it. Strangers that would ask her if she'd thought about her future and stuff like that. Now you go all the way right from that to us working our tits off to make this an art form, right? Putting our backs into doing as best we can, trying to promote good tattooing, trying to help. I've helped loads of people in my life to better tattooing because I want to better my profession. I've been open about technical information. I've not been secretive. I've shared. To now end up with people doing ignorant style tattoos that looks like toilet art of horrendous tattoos done horrendously and horrendous on beautiful young bodies. Some girl around 26 had this all a rib cage covered in shit you normally saw in a urinals, your fucking toilet door. You know what I mean? Why? I'm just left wondering why. And I think she'll probably get it lasered off or covered up because I just get tired of being ugly tattoos, you know. It's maybe funny when you're young and a little pissed off at the world, but that'll wear off soon enough.
Do you think it's possible that that's the same attitude that people used to look at women tattooed at all and think, did you think about your future? Could that come from the same place?
Absolutely. I mean, you know.
Obviously, your opinion's a little more informed than somebody on the street who's like commenting on somebody.
Look, when my dad started tattooing, I didn't think much of it. The first woman he tattooed at home in London that fainted, I went to tell my granny he killed her. You know? I really thought, I said to my sister, what the fuck's he doing? Because he went to all these different jobs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then I started looking at people getting tattooed, and I'm like, I'd never do that to myself. Age like 10. I'm perfect. Why would I mess up my body? Then I got my first tattoo. And everybody lost their minds. And I loved it. And I wanted another one right away. So my first tattoo was fuck you, followed up by I want to be part of the group, right?
Right.
All in a very short space of time. And being a kid, 16-year-old with a bunch of tattoos, was incredibly empowering. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that it bothered people. I mean, you know, maybe that was my punk rock. We were talking about I don't understand punk rock. So maybe tattooing is my punk rock. Fuck you, right?
Yeah. So these ignorant style tattoos are kind of like the antithesis of...
Yeah, it's fuck you all over again.
Yeah.
But even though I was into fuck you, I still wanted to make myself look good. I never wanted to make myself look ugly. And this ignorant style is just ugly.
But imagine someone getting it and they think, I look better than I did yesterday.
Well, then they've got no visual fucking understanding at all. Because it's just not... When I say ignorant style, I mean it's like fucking women, like bad drawings of girls with their stomachs cut open and their guts hanging out, and just really dicks and balls with swastikas on the top. You can't say it's visually pleasing in any way whatsoever. It's all about the idea, the message, right?
Yeah, the clearest form of like, this is for a reaction, almost only.
Yeah. I see no artistic merits in it. Where we spoke about a guy, that Richard guy who does the tattoo, a guy riding a bicycle and he's riding a bicycle. Mm-hmm. I thought the work was really quite appealing.
Yeah.
I don't care how he tattooed it. That's a gimmick. It's whatever. Mm-hmm. It's fine, right? It's not something I'd want to do on a daily basis. But just looking at the result, they did it in Jackass when he tattooed the guy in the back of the Jeep.
Right.
I actually thought the tattoo was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was fucked up and weird.
Yeah.
But I could see why not?
Plus,
right?
Wasn't it Henry Rollins that did it?
Yeah, I think he was fucking in dots and lines all over the place, right?
Yeah.
But at least they were trying to make something. Trying to.
Yeah.
You see a few of them now online pouring ink on each other and following the ink and doing splashes. And that's that trash polka style that come out of Berlin, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. The Volker and Simone started that whole graphism, smear, red.
Yeah.
And it went for a while and then it's kind of died down again. And before that, there was the watercolor style. And then there was the Celtic phrase. And there was when the black work hit the scene where Leo Zulueta brought out all that Borneo style and Hank promoted it. The Chili Peppers got it and they went running around. And then we come back to the same old thing. So what's it now? Colored portraits. There was one Russian guy, I think, or Polish a few years ago that was tattooing people, this psychedelic, crazy, full-color work. I forgot his name. It was interesting. It was goop-de-goop kind of mint greens turning into magentas that looked like melted wax. That was very, very surreal. And he was tattooing. I liked him. He stood out from the crowd. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Now we're doing bodysuits, right? There's not enough concept work out there, like just water suits. You know, you get that with the black work, but the Japanese is already too specific. I mean, like, if you're going to do full blackout, how full blue out, full yellow, full red? What about a rust suit? You know, what about a scale suit? What about, you know, the Enigma, the puzzle guy? He was a one-off, and then there was a second one. Mm-hmm. They were calling the Enigma Light because he did the puzzle except for the face and the hands and the feet. But these concepts, there used to be a leopard man, there's a zebra girl, you know, the great Omi, there's not enough of that going on.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that lately. That the like tattooed sideshow performer type, there isn't really that anymore because it almost doesn't have the impact that it did.
And yet, how beautiful would it be? You know what I mean? I have yet to see a full, I might have seen one or maybe two, a full biomech suit with nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's one or two that have done it, but if it's done right, H.R. Giger, he did a few body paintings of girls with like complete, he did on like bodysuits with the airbrush. To go all the way, to fully commit, you know, to the one idea suit.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of that. You could have groups, the gang, the water gang, you know.
I will never not be amazed by people who end up with a full cohesive bodysuit where they start from no tattoos and they decide, I want the full bodysuit, and they see it through and they find the right person to do it.
Call them unicorns. They come around every now and then.
Yeah.
Usually they've got a couple of pieces to cover up, but I've had in my career, I think maybe one or two that were like, had a thumbnail size tattoo and went for a bodysuit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I take my hats off to them because even I didn't take that route. My father told me, Felix, he said, don't get this shit on your arms. Wait till you're fully grown. Get a pair of Japanese sleeves and then you can go for the suit. And I was like, fuck that. Like, right? I could be dead next year. I want it all now. So I got what I wanted, but it's a lot to ask of somebody, so I don't push it. I tattoo this psychedelic shit, you know, very rarely, the stuff I paint. One day I'll do a suit of that, but I can't push that on somebody. They have to want it. They have to come to it on their own. It's nothing I'd want to ever impose on somebody, what to wear.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that picture in your big, thick book of all that work. Towards the back, there's that leg. And picturing a full bodysuit of that would be insane.
Yeah, but I haven't been asked yet.
Yeah.
Now, he was specific. He'd seen my paintings. I remember him. He works for the water company in Geneva. He come in and I painted it on.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask because I was trying to make sense of...
Just painted it on with tattoo colors and a paintbrush.
Yeah.
Took photos of it and then gray lined it and off we went. You know, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was actually very fun. I've had one or two over the years. Quite happy to go for Japanese work. I really enjoy Japanese-inspired tattooing. I'm not a traditionalist by any sense. So to me, I still add my own twist to it. It's all about being tattooed. You know, you get a new tattoo, you're like, fucking... and then, you know, within a few months, you don't fucking see the thing anymore. It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're in pursuit of a bodysuit kind of thing. They had such deep meaning when I first got them, the early ones. Now I don't even remember why I got it. What meaning I gave myself, what reasoning I had. It's gone now.
Well, I think the best tattoos are the ones that can kind of change over time or that it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I don't have a cover-up yet.
You think people are too distracted? Are our brains rotted from all the information, all the images, all the tattoos that somebody can see?
It's sensory overload. You know, that people are going to get into trouble with this shit, all this fucking filters and cheating and blending tattooed portraits with the real photo of the fucking original thing underneath and all the rest of it.
I think about those old photographs where they like clearly drew in over them, but it's just because the photography was so limited.
You know what's going to happen? Somebody's going to get into trouble. False advertising, you know?
I think it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just impossible when you see these things. The blacks are darker than black, the white's whiter than white.
Mm-hmm.
There was one guy on Instagram that was showing fancy work and healed, and that was so interesting. It's gone. I can't find it now.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That was really interesting because that's a reality, right, of what we do.
And those photos like that, the comparisons are always so helpful with customers who are requesting these things that we know better than to do. And it's hard when they're bringing in these photos of these fresh, beautifully photographed tattoos for you to say, well, you can't do that. And they're like, it's right here. It's done. You can't do it. So I'll find someone else. And just like...
Oh, I like the phrase, sorry, I can't do that. Say, yeah, but I know that you can do it for me. Well, I know it can't be done. You say, but you could do it for me. I'm like, no, it can't be done.
They're like, come on, I just drove up this mountain. You can do it.
You can do it. years back, the guy wanted to book 3 days, some dude over the phone, 3 days in Paris. He wanted his back the first day, one side the next day, and the next side the next day.
Jesus.
So I started laughing on the phone. I said, we can't do it. He goes, yes, you can. I'm like, dude, I just said I can't do it. He goes, but I know you can. And I want you to do it for him. It's this ridiculous argument where he was telling me he was upset. I was holding out on him and I wasn't delivering what he knew I could do. It was just unreasonable.
You owe it to him.
I was telling him, what are you, that big? You know, I was like, what are you, 1.20 meters? I mean, like...
Then he shows up and he is.
Maybe, yeah. No, expectations. I think some of these shows might have muddied people's expectations. They think you can do large work quicker than you actually can. That tattoo cover, have you seen that one? They got a French version of it now.
Mm.
People come in for a cover-up that big and they walk out with a sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
There's no challenge in that at all. I mean...
That's true.
It's fine, you can put on a big tattoo and everything, and it's good to promote bigger work, but as a technician, I would like to see the minimum. You know, that's the true challenge.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the shows are all about storytelling. And what tells a better story than like complete transformation?
With a few tears as well.
Yeah. And they're like, well, I would just like a little flower over it. And they're like, how about a full tiki scene that goes onto your back? And they're like, well, I guess if I have to, you have to.
Yeah, it's fun. Go on, you'll like it. No, I really don't complain about the old days and stuff. It was a bitch finding work. It was hard. I promoted big work in Japanese tattoos for years and explained and ruined my book collection showing it to people and drew endlessly for them. I got drawers and drawers full of 1-to-1 scale drawings just to really, really explain it to people. I don't have to do that anymore. I mean, I see some young guys that start today and they've got it all. Mm-hmm. They're doing back pieces 2 years in and stuff. Stuff took me years to be able to nab, you know.
Yeah.
So this is the golden age of tattooing, is now. Supplies within a day. Multiple fucking outlets. It'll show up the next day, order, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mixed color. I built machines. I made needles. I built foot switches and found power packs and designed everything. It's all fucking so easy now.
Do you think,
so much access.
You think somebody who's starting today, do they need to learn all of that stuff?
Need to know. When would they ever put it into practice? How do you repair a pen machine, right? I haven't even opened one yet, but I think they're not meant to be repaired. They look more like they're throwaways. Mm-hmm. Buy a new one, right?
Yep.
Who makes needles anymore? It's unheard of. Yeah. I'm quite happy I don't have to do it. It was a terrible job full of toxic fucking fluxes and burning your fingertips and filing away like a monkey. You know, it was hard work.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to learn any of it. It's not bad to know.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there value?
When would they ever use that knowledge?
Do you think a deeper understanding of the tools and the things that they use will that push the needle enough to make that worth it?
I use an iPad every day. I can barely fucking load in a new program. I would have no idea how to fix it. Right?
Yeah.
It is so removed. I just use it. I drive a car. I couldn't fix it. Right? No, if you're not using a coil machine, fixing machines, building machines and needles, it's never going to use it, right? Mixing colors, who's doing that? It's a thankless job. It's like Titin, she had a show a few years back where she decided she wanted to do it herself, so she built her own frames. She stretched raw canvas. She cooked up rabbit glue that smells like shit and stinks the whole house up. And she prepped the canvas, the linen. Then she put the base coat. She did all the work, right? It was labor intensive. Yeah, the new shows she's doing now, she bought them already made at the art supply shop because what's the difference? You know what I mean? It was fun once.
Just to prove to yourself you can do it.
But her main objective is to paint and put the painting on the canvas. And so if you can get it ready made by somebody professionally, fuck it.
Do you think that's how tattooers who are a couple of years in are able to do such great work? Is that's all that has to be focused on?
Yeah, a lot of that is part of it. The other part is that as a profession, when Felix learned tattooing in 78 from Jog, I was terrified the few times I went to that shop. It was a truly scary environment. So if you were a little sensitive or timid, you didn't have a chance in hell of becoming a tattooer. You had to be already pretty strong-willed and tough. Now, you can be a complete introvert and fucking, you know what I mean, and enter this profession because the door is open to everybody. So there are some very talented people coming that wouldn't have made it before, with new sensibilities, you know. Mm-hmm. People that stepped straight out of art school that have just mastered pencil, pen, brush, palette knife, sculpting, photography, hey, tattooing. It's just one more way of expressing the same profession, being an artist, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think all of this access to good tools, easy tools, is actually opened the door to a lot of really talented people that wouldn't have been able to make it in before just because it was such a rough, tough world.
Yeah.
Now, I keep mentioning I've been judging because I didn't want to judge for the first 30 years. And then kind of my friends leaned on me a bit to do it. And then I got a liking for it because it's kind of fun. I started seeing a lot of weak work. And I questioned what tools were used. Oh, the pen. How many hours went into it? 12. I'm thinking, geez, it shouldn't have been more than 4. Why'd they put 12, right? So I started building this idea in my mind that these wands, these pens were ruining the tattooing, right? Mm. I'm walking around watching people work. People aren't scrubbing anymore. They're wish-washing back and forth with this movement. Like, I'm like, what the fuck, right? Watching other guys work, they're not taking any ink. They're working with what looks like an empty machine. I didn't understand, and I thought the tools were to blame until Frankfurt. A couple of hundred tattooers, 5 guys using coils. I'm looking around, I'm going, this is getting ridiculous. You know, people like Henning are using a pen. Guy's got 50 years in the profession. I was like... It's
like silent in the room.
Well, I started thinking, they can't all be wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I got one. I got given a bishop and I came home and the first thing I did was bruised a friend because I was afraid it was too weak. I'd built this idea in my mind that the weak tattoos were because of these machines not being powerful enough. Mm-hmm. Boy, was I wrong.
I think it's the opposite.
Holy shit, right?
Yeah.
Bruised the fuck out of the leg and suddenly realized in like a flash that it's not the machine, it's the people using it. It's the lack of knowledge. It's this, somewhere along the line, I don't know who promoted this way of working, but it's not getting it in there.
Yeah.
It's too much like sketching with a lead pencil or something. I don't understand where this comes from.
Well, because that's kind of what it feels like. And I'm of the mind that it has been beneficial for me to have years of experience with coil machines because going to a wand machine, you don't get the same feedback.
Right.
To your ears, to your hand.
Correct.
So without that, how would you ever know?
I started with rotaries.
Yeah.
First, Felix used English and Lynx rotary, and I got... My first machine was in 1927. It didn't even have a crankshaft, so the needle wobbled on the end, right? Because it had to fucking...
Yeah.
So I did the first bunch of tattoos with that. Then I moved into the coil. It was like amazing.
Yeah.
A self-regulating machine, a machine that'll actually give when you get near the bone. Oh my God, how cool is that? Mm-hmm. And over the last 10 years, I tried a few coils again, rotaries. I settled on the Bishop direct drive. Of all of them, kind of my favorite. The difference is, for me, you got to push with the rotary, you don't with a coil, right? The coil just penetrates the skin on its own. The rotaries, you got to make sure you push it in there. Now these new machines, they've got give, a rotary with give. Dead easy. But yeah, I don't know. People are spending way too much time on these things. And it's so hard to be a judge. It's so hard to really see what's going on. In London a few years back, a guy come up, he had this square on his arm here. Spider-Man, one scene from a comic book. Fucking beautiful. Took a long time. But multiple sized lines, nice solid color, everything great. Above it, he had this laser work. Another Spider-Man scene. Mm-hmm. And Luke sitting next to me goes, "Excuse me, what's going up there, laser?" And the guy goes, No, same artist last year, you like it? And we both looked at it, and it just, like, my world fell apart because it had all fallen out. And then I looked again at the new work, and I realized it was totally overworked. You didn't notice it right off the bat.
Because that was fresh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very hard judging these fresh pieces.
Yeah.
But seeing the healed result, you realize that it's not deep enough, overworked, too many holes in the skin, all the colors come back out, right? Too many passes on the lines. I mean, the most pleasurable lines for me are the ones you can pull them fast, and there's depth control. Starting out light, then leaning on it in the corner, and then coming back out a bit lighter, and knowing that over the years that line is going to go like a paintbrush, where you went and just like swimming through the skin. It's this, love it, right? And if you're successful, it looks really good.
I hope you've enjoyed this so far. I want to thank, again, our sponsors this week, Tattoo Dream, DOS M, Black Dagger Books, and Tattoo Nectar for making this all possible. Please check them out. This has been part 1 of my conversation with Philip Leu. I will be back next episode with part 2